jockeys have just been made aware of that fact, and he's going to turn. Fare Along is being led in. And the Giant Bolster not that keen to go and join the others at the moment. So Fare Along is being kept ahead of the circling body of the field. And the Giant Bolster now being led forward as well. So a few of them just proving a little difficult. Blazing Bailey, the latest one, I think, to plant himself slightly. But here we go. Hennessy Gold Cup field approaching the tapes. Keeping an eye on the Giant Bolster and Fare Along. And we're off and racing. Away for the Hennessy, and Fare Along, who was led in, is one of the first to break the line. Beshabar, Carruthers is also prominent on the helter-skelter run towards the first. 5 deep, Beshabar rises in front. Fare Along made a mistake at the first. The Giant Bolster was last over it. Great Endeavour is held up early on as Sarando, in company with Carruthers, Beshabar, and also Billy McGurn, a front rank as they take the next fence. Michel Le Bon is quite handy. The Giant Bolster is the back marker early on. Tullamore Dew's Whiteface is also making ground. 1833 tracks the leaders. So quite a contested lead early on as they head towards the next. Beshabar it is who rises in front of Sarando. Billy McGurn towards the inside. Carruthers at this stage is towards the rails and front rank as well. Reading out Michel Le Bon and Wymot all there with 1833, about 6 in line. Michel Le Bon rose in front of that fence, at which Carruthers made a mistake, as did the Giant Bolster towards the rear of the field. So Michel Le Bon right on the front end with 1833, Sarando, Beshabar and Billy McGurn as they rise at that one. Fare Along's lost a considerable amount of ground, considering that he led into the first. He's now last, as they now have a chance to gather their thoughts before they reach the cross fence for the first time. So out in front, we have Carruthers on the inside, the red sleeves working back to the front with Sarando. Beshabar is handy from 1833. Michel Le Bon is 3 wide. Planet of Sound is prominent just behind the leaders with Billy McGurn. Wymot comes next, Blazing Bailey midfield ahead of Muirhead, Balthazar King and Tullamore Dew, who's now restrained in midfield. Neptune Collonge on the outside of Wayward Prince, Fare Along, Great Endeavour, the Giant Bolster and Killimar as they reach the cross fence, at which Killimar and Neptune Collonge's rider were both briefly forced to the buckle end of the reins. So it's Carruthers who leads early on, from Sarando in second, Michel Le Bon 4 wide on the outside of 1833. Beshabar comes next from Planet of Sound. Wymot is on the heels of the leaders in company with Balthazar King. Muirhead races in midfield with Blazing Bailey. Tullamore Dew, Great Endeavour alongside the other grey at this stage, Neptune Collonge. Wayward Prince towards the inside as they reach the first up the straight, at which Carruthers made another mistake. And that's his second of the contest already as we head on towards the open ditch. Sarando and Carruthers with Michel Le Bon and 1833 and Beshabar all front rank. They're the first 5 over. Wayward Prince made a bad mistake. Wayward Prince made a pretty serious error there and has had to be rousted along to recover as they make their way up the home straight. Carruthers in 1833 with Michel Le Bon. Great Endeavour not the fastest over that, but is still travelling comfortably in midfield. So still just over a circuit to travel. 1833 on the outside of Carruthers. Sarando, Michel Le Bon, Beshabar from Balthazar King and Planet of Sound as they all take the next fence. Wymot travelling comfortably. A reminder for Billy McGurn in midfield. Blazing Bailey, yellow and blue Whiteface towards the outside. Muirhead, yellow and blue towards the inside. Tullamore Dew from Wayward Prince, Killimar, the Giant Bolster. Great Endeavour, Neptune Collonge and Fare Along is last as they take the water, at which Tullamore Dew rather landed on all fours, and Billy McGurn is still being ridden along. So approaching the halfway stage of the Hennessy, all still standing, and indeed all still covered by no more than 15 lengths, having started off fast and furious. The leaders have now got into a better rhythm, with Carruthers showing the way from 1833, then towards the outside Michel Le Bon. Towards the inside, racing in 4th place, is Beshabar ahead of Planet of Sound, Sarando and Wymot. Balthazar King next from Blazing Bailey. Tullamore Dew wide out on the course as they stream over the next. Looking back towards the second half of the field, Billy McGurn being ridden. Great Endeavour creeping into it with the Giant Bolster, Wayward Prince, Neptune Collonge, then Fare Along as they take the next. Killimar is the back marker over it. Muirhead made a slight mistake in midfield. So that was an open ditch. They're now racing towards the middle one of the 5 down the back. Paul Nicholls' pair moving to the front. Carruthers with 1833, and on the outside, Michel Le Bon. Behind these, at the back of the field, Fare Along made a bad mistake. Killamar is struggling. Wayward Prince has always been on the back foot after that earlier error, and is another one who is behind as they reach another plain one. Carruthers 1833 and Michel Le Bon from Wymot, who is over in fourth. Sarando still on the heels of the leaders. Planet of Sound has never been too far away. Beshabar's just drifting back through the field. Balthazar King, the giant bolster, trying to get involved. Great Endeavour trying to creep into it, and we've lost there Sarando. Sarando was a faller when still with every chance. Got in the way of a couple in behind. Wayward Prince and Killimar are the two that are out of touch as the leaders now prepare to turn towards the cross fence. Carruthers out in front from 1833. Planet of Sound and Michel Le Bon are the next two. Wymot from Blazing Bailey. Beshabar still in there. Tullamore Dew travelling comfortably in eighth from the giant bolster. Then behind these, Balthazar King. Great Endeavour niggled for the first time into about 10th or 11th from Fare Along, Billy McGurn, Muirhead and Neptune Collonge. The cross fence, and over in front 1833 and Carruthers with Planet of Sound between the pair. Michel Le Bon in fourth, Wymot driven in fifth. Beshabar turns for the Hennessy field in sixth place into the straight with Blazing Bailey and Tullamore Dew, but still on the front end. It's Carruthers who leads from 1833. Michel Le Bon towards the inside, Planet of Sound, then Wymot. The giant bolster, Beshabar. Great Endeavour is making ground now on the extreme right, the grey, as the leaders bunched up as they took that fence, and it's Planet of Sound who lands in front. Planet of Sound being driven along Carruthers. Still Great Endeavour saving ground towards the inside, then 1833 as the leaders prepare to take the last open ditch. Carruthers is over in front from Planet of Sound. 1833, Great Endeavour still trying to creep into it on the far side as the leaders make their journey down then towards the second last, and over out in front Carruthers with Great Endeavour continuing to close all the time on the inside as they race down towards the final fence. Planet of Sound is still there as well. They're racing down towards the last, and it's Carruthers on the near side who's just about in front. Carruthers over from Great Endeavour as they set off up the run-in, and it's Carruthers, despite a couple of mistakes early on in the race, who's charging up the run-in. Planet of Sound and Great Endeavour are giving a vain pursuit, but driven out towards the line. And out in front, Carruthers, a famous success for the Oaksey family, and Mattie Batchelor, partners a Hennessy winner. In second place is Planet of Sound. Fare Along ran on strongly to possibly get a place with Beshabar. Great Endeavour, Wymot next from Tullamore Dew and Blazing Bailey.
A gallant horse no longer. This time he takes centre stage. Carruthers has won for Mattie Batchelor. What a fantastic ride. What a fantastic performance from a horse who has so often been a nearly horse. Today he gets his in the 2011 Hennessy Gold Cup chase. Many congratulations to the Mark Bradstock team. That's brilliant. He has beaten Planet of Sound into second, and he's done so by jumping magnificently in the closing stages. Third is number 14, Fare Along. He has run on for that position. And fourth was Great Endeavour. And fifth was Beshabar, but this was magnificent. It was magnificent from Mattie Batchelor and Carruthers, a horse that has really given it some in many, many top races. Here he's been given a chance. Again, he was positively ridden. Mattie Batchelor was positive, not least at the last when asking, and this horse was superb. This is their day.
Isn't it just? Isn't it just? I mean, I think this is a fabulous effort. I mean, it's only 2 weeks after he looked legless at the end of the race at Cheltenham, and he's come back fresh again. Couple of early mistakes as well, and yet it's not fazed him or the jockey, and the pair of them have recorded a famous success.
That was a really brilliant performance. You're right to point out that the jumping wasn't quite right in the early stages. He made two significant errors. It meant that he wasn't able to get on the lead, but he worked his way back to it, saw off all the other horses, and then turning for home, you saw that the two of them felt that the day had come.
And they, a lot of the major players were there, and he's just beaten them off one by one. I mean, he's not just won, he's absolutely stormed home in the end.
Carruthers then wins. Let's relive the story of this race. The first thing to say is that Fare Along, who has stayed on to finish third, slowed markedly into the first fence and made a mistake at the second fence and looked like he didn't want to know. And
dropped out to the rear after that, and you forgot all about him, and he suddenly comes storming through in the closing stages to come third. Which in itself is astonishing.
At the back, we've got the Giant Bolster, who seemed to be reluctant to line up, but he did seem to work his way into things after a few scrappy errors on the first circuit.
Yeah, he's made a mistake early on, I think the fourth fence, and I think he might have been hampered when Sarando fell, but a feature of the race is that most of them have jumped fine. They were all still standing until Sarando fell 6 out, so there are a few excuses here. They've all had their chance if they were good enough.
Yes, and Carruthers here on the inside. There's when he's not too clever and loses his pitch.
Yeah, not a good jump, and we think this is a horse that needs to dominate from the off, or that's the way they've ridden him. But today, although up there, just rather more patience. Yeah, circumspection indeed.
Yes, it was, and maybe it's the mistakes that have caused him to get there, because Mattie Batchelor is urging him along and asking him to go forward again, and by the time we get to this fence, he's pressing for the lead again.
He's back up in front. Those ridden out the back, with the exception of Fairlong, who was there not by choice, and the Giant Bolster, I don't think really ever get right there, apart, of course, from Great Endeavour, who has crept closer throughout the final circuit.
Beshabar's tracking towards the inside. Also prominent at this stage is Sarando. Prominent on the outside is 1833 as well. So he's towards the outside. And just on his outside is his stable companion, who's Michel Le Bon.
Yeah, and we've just seen Wayward Prince, make a terrible mistake at that one. And you can't hit a fence that hard in a race like this and get away with it.
That's
fiddle a couple, but not a blunder.
That's such a bad blunder. That's race over for Wayward Prince, unfortunately. So they're heading out. There's a warm round of applause for Carruthers, and I'm really not surprised.
Well, a local trainer as well, isn't it, more or less? And it's a popular small local trainer.
Yeah. Really stands off the water jump. Neptune Collonges is beginning to struggle as they head out for the second circuit.
Not a surprise under his weight, but there's a lot of major players. Both the Nichols horses bang there. Planet of Sound travelled like a dream in behind them throughout and looked a possible winner in the straight as well. Plenty of horses with chances.
Great towards the rear on the inside. Great Endeavour is patiently brought into the race by Timmy Murphy.
Yeah, and he's got there in time if he was good enough, because he was virtually on terms 2 out. He just didn't quite get there, and that was a mistake by him. And the next one, I think we're going to lose Sarando.
Yes, Sarando sitting there in about fifth position with the cheek pieces just behind Carruthers. And he unfortunately makes a bad mistake in the next fence, I think.
He will do. That was Muirhead making a mistake at that one.
That ends him.
Yeah, it does. But Sarando is still in there pitching when he comes down here. And they see who he interferes with. Giant Bolster and Muirhead. Yeah, Giant Bolster, who is making ground and continue to make ground despite that.
Now there's Richard Johnson looking around him on Planets of Sound, just moving well into third place.
He must have thought he was going to win. I'm sure he thinks he's got them covered in front. Whether the horse hasn't quite seen it out, but I mean he travelled like a dream and he jumped really well.
Michel Le Bon has always been prominent, and he just jumped well at plenty of them, but at 6 out he makes a mistake, and from that point onwards he's struggling to hold his position.
Yes, I mean it's a whole different ball game for him, isn't it? I mean he looked fantastic and he was the unknown quantity, if you like, but it's just found him out now as Carruthers turns it on. 1833 I think's run particularly well, but now it's beginning to cry enough as you watch Planet of Sound about to come through and actually take it up 4 out. Wymott's run well, I think. First time out, I have my severe doubts about him, but he's run well up to a point.
And there's the first setting of Fairlong beginning to tack on to the main players. Great Endeavour also looming